The older days of motorsport were a dangerous time for drivers, but the racing was usually exciting. You see this black and white film how relaxed drivers look, but Graham Hill is just sitting there pondering the race. The amazing thing about this era was that many privateer drivers could enter just by having enough money to buy a car and turn up at the racetrack. We're going to take a look at one of those privateer drivers, John Love. The Rhodesian driver entered in just 10 Grand Prix, 9 South African Grand Prix and 1 Italian, which he didn't qualify for. Usually driving a private entry Cooper with a Climax engine, he would do well to get some half-decent results. This is the race from 1970 at Kyalami. John Love entered this race, but it wasn't his best year. We'll be talking about his best year at Kyalami in just a minute. It's just taking a look at the racing from this time. The tracks are challenging, the cars are fantastic looking, the racing is exciting, and if it wasn't for the danger, I think we'd wish to have Formula 1 like this again. John Love was a driver from Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, who raced in just 10 Formula 1 races. 9 of these were in South Africa, in self-entered, self-run cars, either in his own name or as Team Gunston. The Kyalami Master didn't have much in the way of success, but for 1 year he was almost an African hero. Let's take a look at why John Love is underrated. Before we go into his Formula 1 career, let's take a look at John Love's other achievements. He won the 1962 British Touring Car Championship, beating the likes of Graham Hill to the title. He was also the South African national Formula 1 champion every year between 1964 and 1969. That's 6 years in a row. The first time the Rhodesian driver entered Formula 1 was the South African Grand Prix in 1962, before Kyalami when the race was held in East London. In the self-entered Cooper T55, he did well to finish 8th. This was back in the days when anyone with a bit of money could enter Formula 1, which led to many hilariously bad efforts. However, John Love always seemed to perform well. His only entry where he didn't qualify was in Monza in 1964. After retiring from the 1965 South African Grand Prix and not entering in 1966, he returned in 1967 in a self-entered Cooper T79 for the first ever race at Kyalami. John Love managed to work his way up to 3rd place, a huge achievement for the privateer. Brabham and Gurney led the way until both broke down within a few laps of each other, and when Holm had to pit for brake fluids, John Love took the lead of the race. He led for 7 laps before having to pit for fuel. This let Pedro Rodriguez through to the lead. John Love finished 2nd, 26.4 seconds behind. This was the first win for the Mexican and the only points finish for John Love. Only 6 cars would finish that race. It was a smaller field due to many teams not taking part, but John Love beat other South African and Rhodesian drivers such as Dave Charlton, Lukey Boff and Sam Tingle. In fact, John Love was the only other driver to finish on the race lap. He'd never have another race like this, with an 8th and 9th his other best results. John Love would enter Team Gunston cars for other African drivers, the likes of Jody Scheckter's older brother Ian Scheckter, Paddy Driver, Willie Ferguson, Eddie Kaizen, Jackie Pretorius and others. John Love may never have run a race. He may never have got a full drive of a top team, but he was a small privateer who did something special. Sadly, John Love died of cancer at the age of 80. He has a trophy named after him in Zimbabwe. John Love is certainly underrated.